Hi everyone, I'm Michael Owen, VP of Customer Success at Patchworks, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Navid Jilow, IT Director from Belstaff. Navid, great to have you.
Hi, good to be here.
Awesome. Navid, so we're here today really to talk about Belstaff's journey and the digital transformation that you've been on over the course of your time with the business.
Mm-hmm.
But just to start us off, would you be able to give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself and also Belstaff as a brand?
Yeah, sure. So I come from a project delivery background. I've worked for sort of various companies in the past. So with IBM, Accenture, I then went traveling for about 7 months to take a career break, and then I came back and worked for companies like Chanel, the White Company, before joining Belstaff in 2021.
Awesome. And talk to us a little bit about Belstaff and maybe how it compared to some of those brands that you've worked with previously. Belstaff naturally has a lot of heritage to it. It's a well-known brand, so it'd be great to understand a little bit about Belstaff and what your experience with it was.
Sure. So Belstaff was founded in Stoke in 1924 by a man called Eli Belovich and his son. And last year was our sort of centenary year, so it's been around for 100 years. It's a sort of an outerwear and motorcycle company, so they sell various clothing, and you may have sort of seen them or heard about them. I think it was 2014, a while back, when David Beckham did some collections with Belstaff. But that was sort of when you mention that, that's when people go, oh yeah, I remember Belstaff.
Sir David Beckham now as well. So
Yes, indeed, yes, very recently. Yes, good point. Really, really good modern heritage British brand. 2021 was a very interesting year. The company, was making multi-million-pound losses ever since its acquisition in 2017, and it was in trouble when I joined.
So, talk to us a little bit about the journey that Belstaff was on at the point that you joined the business, because we're here today to talk a lot about digital transformation within Belstaff, but realistically, it wasn't just a digital transformation. It was a transformation of the whole business, ultimately.
Yeah, I call it an everything transformation. Typically from my previous, projects and experiences, you kind of take a system or maybe a couple of systems, key systems still, and you sort of migrate to a new one, and that's got its own complexities. But yeah, with Belstaff, we kind of decided to do everything, and that's anything from a brand new architecture where pretty much every single component is brand new to new operating business processes. Moving out of locations and moving sort of departments from, say, our Italian HQ back at the time into the UK, even sort of changing some of the styles and the branding and the way our sort of clothing looked and how it spoke to our customers. Even that had a bit of a change as well. So I'd never sort of been part of something this big before, even though I've worked on some of the biggest projects in Europe. But this felt a far bigger, far quicker, and far more complicated.
It was a huge transformation. I guess from your perspective coming into the IT world, aside from just kind of selecting vendors and systems, what other considerations did you have to take in terms of getting the buy-in of the wider business, I guess, that's been used to running in a certain way? It's a heritage brand. How did you go through that process?
Yeah, so we always talk about bringing systems in that are easy to use, bringing systems in that are easy to integrate with. So we're all obviously backing that kind of idea and principle as IT project managers or sort of within the IT space. But effectively, it's the business that end up using those systems. I've really just experienced, this time round, how important it is to make sure, your tech stack is transparent, is visible to everyone. the systems being used by the business are self-serving. So, having intuitive enough user interfaces where the different departments can go in and actually use those systems to kind of serve what they need to do in terms of their business functions. And we were lucky enough to kind of, at a time where a technology like Shopify and Patchworks as well maybe wasn't sort of that used sort of widely in the market, but is now obviously much more widely used in the market. But we kind of took a bit of a risk there in 2021 where we said, right, let's go completely cloud-based, and let's just choose some of these sort of newer technologies that maybe others are not using, but we're confident the roadmap is there to kind of improve them. It's sort of paid off. It's a tough, sort of, to summarize, it is a tough kind of journey to get to this stage where you get business buy-in. But once they start seeing, the technology and they start using it and sort of realizing they can self-serve, it does help. It doesn't fix all your problems though.
Yeah, and I think it was amazing from my perspective firsthand to come into Belstaff and see, for one of the project phases, a room full of 30 people from all different departments within the business coming together for that kickoff meeting. So it was testament to the buy-in that the business had to this transformation project, which was amazing to see. I think moving on kind of to the more detail on that tech stack, what systems did you incorporate as part of that transformation project?
So in terms of the systems, we went with a headless Shopify tech stack and point of sale. That gave us sort of a unified commerce tech stack, which massively helped us, roll out various features and sort of a platform where we had consistent user experience. And we'll probably go into that later, but I just really want to reiterate how important it is to have a unified commerce tech stack. It just makes everybody's lives easier. We implemented Patchworks, which is our iPaaS, and that was really key because obviously all of the systems that need to talk to each other need a mechanism to do that. And it's really important. As an IT director, I have a system that's transparent, is visible, can show me all the error logs. I can easily identify issues and fix them. We also implemented NetSuite as our ERP system. And, that's responsible for a whole range of things, really, like master of inventory, transactions, and it's sort of being used by the finance team quite a lot to understand, our financial position.
It sits effectively centrally within the business right now, NetSuite, in terms of the way it operates.
That's right, yeah. It's kind of the brains or the single place where you can find information about what's going on in the business. So rather than having it sort of dispersed around different systems, we've sort of tried to consolidate everything into one place. And of course, then that has its own benefits. So when you want to plug it into, say, a data warehouse, you kind of use one connection in rather than trying to kind of stitch together many different data sources just to get your reporting right. It's got its positives when you try and centralize and consolidate as much as possible.
Awesome. And I think talking on integration and the iPaaS platform, compared to previous projects you've done where it might have been alternative routes to handling integration, maybe kind of bespoke builds, custom builds, how did you find working with an iPaaS and the benefits of that?
Yeah, so like I said before, it's really key to have that visibility and transparency. So our sort of previous IT model was that we outsourced everything to a third party. So everything was a black box to us, and it was expensive to kind of roll out change and even just to maintain status quo. And with the sort of the move to a greenfield architecture and our ability to choose our tech stack and our partners, really gave us kind of the opportunity to empower ourselves, but also choose systems that allowed to empower our teams. And with Patchworks, the tech and the people, I just want to sort of stress, we were really happy with, because even though, for example, we had a brand new tech stack, we use 3PLs,
Yeah.
and when you integrate with 3PLs, you don't necessarily choose the WMS system that they have. So we would just have to integrate with the WMS systems they used. And some of them were very legacy, and were very difficult to either integrate with or to work with their teams to understand how we could integrate with their systems. So there was challenges there. But Patchworks were able to sort of help us, navigate those sort of complicated workshops that were sort of challenging because, we were integrating with systems that we never used or, very rarely used in the industry. And just the way they worked were very like unique and specific. Was quite difficult to work with some of the teams there as well. They didn't all know how their systems worked. So sort of went through that process of trying to understand all that, stitch it together. From a project delivery perspective, we definitely felt like Patchworks were a partner. And of course, the sort of the tech that we used, helped us ultimately integrate with these systems and be able to fulfill our orders.
Amazing. And there's the kind of the big bang of the initial transformation project, but since then there's been that ongoing change. Has that been made easier by having an integration platform?
Absolutely, yeah. I think so. We had a deadline that we had to go live by, and the systems with our third party were going to be switched off. There was no going back. So once we kind of gave the go ahead to say, right, we're exiting from existing systems, going to new ones, it was like, changing a big tanker, changing direction of a big tanker. You wouldn't be able to do it. It's just going. Once you've set it off, it's just going to go in a big straight line, and you're not going to change it. So we had a very hard deadline, and if we didn't go live, we had no systems, we had no business.
Just a small amount of pressure.
Yeah, just a very, very small amount of pressure. Luckily we did go live, but it wasn't without its issues. So I'd say since we went live to say another 12 months after that period, there was a lot of firefighting. And there was a lot of kind of, fixing, integration issues or data issues, or sort of just revisiting some of the decisions we had made before, and sort of applying them back into the releases to sort of, change the way certain things worked. But we had about 12 months of firefighting, which we had Patchwork support on as well. So that was good. And, so really after that 1 year of firefighting, when we were kind of stable, we then sort of said, right, okay, what is it that we can do now to kind of further improve our tech stack? And having an iPaaS really helped. We were able to kind of release features like buy online, fulfill from store, whether it's click and collect or whether it's the store sending the item out for home delivery to the customer. And other things like, buy online, fulfill from warehouse, pick up in store. And these are Shopify features, and sort of going back to my initial point about having a unified tech stack with Shopify allowed us to have this sort of single stock view. From the Shopify perspective, it was very straightforward because we had to just check a couple of checkboxes, add a few rules in without any code releases. And hey presto, you've now got, your stores being able to fulfill online orders. I've been in previous companies before where we've spent, 6 to 12 months trying to get that bit to work, and it didn't work in the way we wanted to in the end, as we were using different point of sale and e-commerce systems. But, once we kind of did that Shopify part, we obviously had to also do the integration part as well. To make sure, the integration and our ERP system were aware of these types of new flows that were not there before. And the process for kind of making those changes, having an iPaaS like Patchworks was straightforward.
Awesome. And I think that's the key thing from our perspective, is that we're seeing systems like Shopify continuously releasing new functionality that enable you guys to do more. And ultimately, we're there to enable you yourself as an IT director, CTOs, to be able to not have to say no or say not now, to be able to actually say, look, we can move forward with this, and integration's not going to be that that headache that puts a blocker in the way. So it's great to hear.
That's right.
From
I
that
mean,
perspective.
I think for the first time in my career with a project like that sort of the unified commerce rollout for, I know some people don't like to use omnichannel, but it's a term where, we just try and use to describe what we're doing, but essentially the ability to kind of fulfill orders from any channel, that kind of that rollout that we had to do. It was so straightforward, and it's the first time where I think the IT got all the ducks in a row and were ready to go, but then we still had to go through the process of getting the stores to be ready, for the stores to get the training, and so we were like, come on guys, we're ready now. What's taking you so long? So it was very good to be in that position. I don't think I've really ever been in that position before. And it's technology like Shopify and Patchworks that has enabled us to move so quickly.
Awesome. A rare treat when you're in the IT role to be able to
Exactly.
look to other parts of the business.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I think we've touched a little bit on it through this conversation, but I guess it would be great to understand as a headline, what would you say that as part of the transformation project and the utilization of the iPaaS with that, what have been kind of the key benefits for the internal team, but also the customer too? Because there's been a lot of experience improvements throughout that time.
Yeah, that's right. So I think from my perspective, the more control you have over your tech stack, the more you can do to, well, A, improve customer experience, and B, is to kind of improve your operational sort of processes within your team, and be more reactive to kind of issues, and really spot them early on. Don't spend hours sort of doing root cause analysis, but being able to find the issue quickly and get a fix in. So from an integration perspective, people probably are going to go, well, hang on a minute, how can Patchworks improve our customer experience? I know Shopify can, that's customer facing, but I guess it's just the position that Patchworks is in within the tech stack. However, it is the sticky glue to everything, and without it, nothing will work. So it's a very key component of of a business, where you just need to make sure you have a middleware platform in place that gives you full control, visibility, transparency. So that when there's an issue that goes wrong, or if you're, for example, if you need to scale during peak, or anything that may cause an issue or a risk in your tech stack, it's really important to have a technology like Patchworks that can handle those scenarios. From my perspective, I just want a platform to be able to sort of scale, and be agile. Allow me to sort of release new services very quickly, and I feel like the platform does that. With all the sort of the new releases with Patchworks Core, it's now possible to go in and create your own services. If you have your own IT team, the user interface is intuitive. It allows you to create integrations with different systems. You can apply your own logic within the processes in the tool, and it's really just about control, visibility, how quickly you can react to things. I feel you can get that with a platform like Patchworks.
Awesome. And speaking to the scalability piece, we're just about to approach Black Friday, Cyber Monday, a daunting time for any retailer.
Yeah.
I guess since the transformation project and putting in place that new tech stack, compared to either your Belstaff pre-transformation or other businesses you've worked in, I guess, where's your head at in terms of comfort around scalability now going into those peak periods?
Yeah, absolutely great. I mean, there's certain things you want to be worrying about as an IT director, and scalability isn't one of them. And certainly with all of our sort of peak trading periods, we've never had an issue with regards to sort of volume of transactions. And we've talked about Shopify as well, and we haven't had any issues there either. And so it's interesting. So these sort of modern cloud-based applications are all scalable, but they all need to be scalable at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if Shopify, says, oh, you can now do 10 million transactions in 1 second, I'm sure you guys are probably like, right, okay, we kind of need
Pivot
to do
to
the
it.
same.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's from our perspective as well. To that point, I think it's the team may not like me saying this, but we are seen as the plumbing to a certain extent. So
Yeah.
the more that the wider business almost doesn't have to think about Patchworks, the better from your perspective, because it means it's scaling and doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Absolutely. There's a few headaches that I've had previously that have been taken away by having a platform like Patchworks or having a platform like Shopify. And I think that's really the way that sort of the industry is going, and not just now. I mean, it's been going that way for a while. But the more we can get to that kind of place where we sort of remove complexity and things that you shouldn't have to worry about, the more we can then focus on the actual business logic and the customer experience, or the other things that are really related to the business.
Absolutely. That's what we always say with automation. Ultimately, the more that you can reduce staff time doing very manual, laborious tasks, it's a time saving, but that time can be spent, like you say, how can they help with the user experience? How can you move the needle on what's happening across the wider business, rather than just handling data or any other kind of element of the IT world?
Exactly. And if you've got a system that's reliable, you're ensuring that your orders are being fulfilled for your customers, for example, and they're getting everything on time. And you don't want to be worrying about the system not being able to perform and then providing negative user experience. So it certainly helps with that as well. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to sort of go to a world where and this is not just on Patchworks, this is probably on all of the tech providers out there. It's providing sort of agents who can anticipate issues, and sort of put a pause to certain flows and get maybe a human to say, right, okay, you can either continue, or actually, no, this is an issue, I need to fix it. And then we can continue the flow, rather than, for example, where sometimes, you could have a regression in your IT stack, which would create a large number of erroneous records in your ERP system, for example. And it's too late then. It's like you've got, thousands or hundreds of records that need to be remediated. So I'd like to sort of see what what we're going to do in this space in the future, where can we build agents that can sort of understand that there's these incorrect records being created. Could they then remediate them, or actually just anticipate it before it happens? And of course, Patchworks being the kind of the sticky mesh between the different systems will need to play an important role in that, to sort of understand when that happens and sort of put a block to it. But I think this is kind of in the future, and it's more sort of operational based rather than a customer experience improvement or something like that. But yeah,
it's a good segue. I guess that's a sort of the blue sky world of where you want to get to with utilizing agentic AI.
yeah.
I guess in terms of Belstaff right now and the direction you're going in, how are you guys starting to implement AI within the business, and what does that look like for Belstaff?
Yeah, so it's something that's used a lot, isn't it? And from a small scale perspective, the people within the business are using things like ChatGPT to help with small tasks. We have a website with 5 different languages, and sometimes we update our content on our website in different languages. So with like some of those smaller tasks, we might use translation applications or ChatGPT or something similar to kind of give us a translated version of that copy, and then sort of add it to the website. Of course, these get reviewed, but on a small scale, that's what we're kind of doing. Sort of in the sort of the medium and long term, we are looking at language models that can understand tone of voice, get trained on that, and sort of be able to accept a large amount of English text, for example, and then be able to translate that to all its constituent languages like German, Italian, Spanish, French. As at the moment, we kind of use agencies for that kind of thing. So it would be good to kind of have that ability in house to get AI to kind of do the translations for us. And I still think you probably need a human just to sort of read and review that. And so I think that's kind of one area. This is sort of to do with language translations, and because we've got our own tone of voice, you can't just go out and just buy something that will just do it for you. You do have to train it. And of course, we've got other parts in the industry that where the product discovery process, you can sort of use ChatGPT to kind of help you buy a product, but having the ability to upload a picture and get it to sort of understand what that is and try and find something similar, I think is all really exciting stuff. And we may be moving to from e-commerce to autonomous commerce.
Yep.
But with these things, I think like they're never really going to happen straight away, and it's never really going to kill one and start another. They'll probably just run in parallel for a while, and it's another channel that we need to be aware of. So yeah, there's some exciting stuff obviously happening there, and I think also one area that is quite interesting for me is sort of the area of sort of demand planning and forecasting, sort of using AI to take in different data sources from your business and the outside world. It could be anything like weather, trends on TikTok or Instagram, and sort of try and put all of that together and sort of come up with like a recommendation of, oh, okay, look, in 2 weeks time, the weather's going to be really cold. There's a TikTok trend that's like, doing this. A particular, it could be a particular jacket or something that's related that it thinks is relevant. Of course, you need to sort of decide what those parameters are. You need to train it, but get to a position where it can use all of these different data sources and go, actually, in this store, in this country here, in these 3 locations in the UK, for example, you will need more of these jackets because I've taken all these different, parameters into account. And I think that's what you need to do. I think that is starting to get into kind of like real, efficiencies there. And, as a business, you are there to sell items. And so inventory management, inventory control is really, really important. And, that's the kind of the core. It's the core of what the business does, really. Of course, there's so many other elements like, your marketing, your branding, the IT team, your stores. But at its core, it's selling stock. So sort of having that ability to demand, sort of be able to forecast demand in an effective way, I think is really exciting.
And I think it's a new way of looking at, I think, an old problem. And if we go back maybe 10 years talking about big data as the buzzword, I think it's about how you can get more value from the data that's at your disposal. AI is the next step, I guess, for that for retailers, in the sense of you have some element of access to all this data, but being able to compile it and use it in a meaningful way is something that you're looking to unlock.
Absolutely. And it just goes back to kind of technology in general. You've got the tech there. How do you use it? So these sort of different technology platforms will be able to do A, B, and C, but how can you stitch it all together? And even try and see how AI can talk to AI as a workflow, even to help you get the answers that you need, rather than you deciding that I think it's this and this that is what will drive sales. But embedding AI maybe in some of those decision making processes, along with a human as well, in the process, I really do think that will give companies a sort of an advantage over others that are not doing it. So yeah, absolutely. It goes back. I agree with you. It does go back to big data, which is not a new concept. And it's just, what do you do with it? How do you do it? Which is where the holy grail is, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I guess outside of the AI sphere, is there anything else you're looking at as trends within the industry that might be applicable to Belstaff, or things that you're looking to incorporate into the business?
I think for now, it's, the way I look at sort of the technology trends going forward. Obviously, as an IT director, I need to be aware of new channels emerging, like, for example, using agents to purchase goods from your website. That I need to be aware of things like that. So obviously that's one area to look out for. But for me, I think it's just important to kind of look at the real practical use cases for AI to kind of improve your internal operations as well. And I think that's where my sort of my not necessarily just interest, but I think that's where I see the most tangible
Yeah.
use cases. And that's where it makes the most sense for me. So that's the kind of the area I'd be sort of looking into, is to see how can AI assist our day-to-day operations. And like I said, we start with something small, like helping with micro tasks using ChatGPT to kind of do a quick translation, or to ask a question to help with our daily work. But I sort of want to take steps to kind of maybe make that kind of process a little bit more involved, where, like I said, with something like demand forecasting, really sort of be able to use these platforms to help make business critical decisions. So no longer about micro tasks, but actually decisions that will move the needle. And that's kind of the area where I see us kind of being more active in. And I've just given you the sort of the language translation example as well. There's more that which I feel is obviously going to help us. I think from that you'll then see that will inherently help improve customer experience, because if you're making decisions that are taking all of the relevant data points into account, you are sort of making more correct business decisions and with more information, and that will inherently improve customer experience. So, if a customer goes to one of the stores, say in Leeds, and there's no jacket there, that's poor customer experience. But if you've been able to anticipate that in advance as much as you can, obviously no one has a crystal ball, but with all the data points that are available, if you are able to use them to give you the best chance of doing that, and obviously that will improve the customer experience. So I think what I'm trying to say is the sort of, the more informed you are internally, and the more kind of technology like AI that you use internally, I do think that will radiate outwards and help you give better customer experience to your customers from sort of that perspective, rather than just saying, right, okay, let's put just an AI agent on my website, or let's just only focus on selling through ChatGPT and not worry about the rest.
And I guess fundamentally that's where integration plays a pivotal part, because having the data accurate in the right systems, being utilized by the right tools, will fundamentally enable you to do that. But the AI layer without the accurate data is it doesn't lead to anything really.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, with everything sort of I've discussed, you would need some sort of middleware platform that can take all your, for example, all your different data points, and be able to kind of send maybe notifications, triggers, or recommendations, whatever it is, through your tech stack. You do need a strong middleware platform that will play a role there for sure, as it's connected to all your systems, right? So it will play a key role. But I guess one thing that it can't do, and it's not just sort of the middleware platform, but just generally anything really, is data accuracy. And it's been a sort of a learning for us that no matter how, say, user friendly your systems are, you'll still have inaccurate data in your systems this is a grand age old problem. It's not anything new, but data accuracy is so important, and a lot of people give emphasis to getting the project delivered on time, making sure the IT is sending messages from A to B, etc. But there's not enough focus, I think, sometimes given to data accuracy and just ensuring the business processes are followed correctly. And yeah, I don't think I'm probably the only business out there saying this. Yeah, data accuracy is something we sort of struggled with for a while. We've earlier this year we took steps to resolve that. We've put a real focus on data, with reporting and also just data accuracy in general. We have seen some wins there, so it has helped. But imagine if there was a solution out there that would fix the accuracy of your data. I'm sure that would be quite popular.
Every IT director's dream, because no matter what's causing the data accuracy issues, it lands on IT's door, right?
That's right. Yeah. It's we get to see the symptom, but the root cause is very rarely IT. Yeah.
Awesome. Navid, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Catch you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks.